I used to be a surgeon. Yeah, you could say I was in demand. I used to see patients with particularly difficult cases and conditions. They were brain transplants, heart valve transplants, and even jaw reduction, so to speak. I once had a very wealthy, incredibly wealthy patient with tough case. He had a brain tumor the size of my fist. I decided to schedule the surgery for tomorrow. I shouldn't have done that. Preparations began as soon as he was admitted. Re-sterilization of instruments, preparation of the operating room, and in the end, you need to mentally prepare both him and me. The next day he arrived on time, but the operation was over before it had even begun. The patient's heart stopped. I didn't even have time to cut the skin or inject the anesthetic. There was an even line on the scope. I remember panicking, started calling his family. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Of course, I was made guilty. The next day, some strangers broke into my operating room, grabbed me by the arms, and dragged me toward the exit. I started pulling out, screaming for help, but no one heard me. I hit one of my attackers in the head with my cell phone and broke it. The second guy who was dragging me, I scratched his face. One of my attackers injected something in my neck, and I wasn't thinking straight. And after the shot, I blacked out. I woke up in the car like SUV or something. This was evident from the huge cabin with large brown leather seats. For a couple of minutes, I watched very quietly as the people who were driving me to the unknown destination. I noticed that on the back seat next to me was a pen. I grabbed it and stabbed the man in front of me in the carotid artery. I didn't know I could do that. I was spotted a couple seconds before, but it didn't help the man. He died almost immediately. The man who was sitting next to me tried to kick me in the head. I started lunging at him and he opened the door. I thought there was a chance, so I tried to run. I took advantage of the situation and immediately ran outside. I ran as fast as I could and screamed for help, but I tripped on the crop. As I ran into the woods, I felt a sharp pain in my neck. It radiated throughout my body. I fell down because I couldn't stand on my feet, let alone run. One of the guys caught up with me, the same one who had injected me with sleeping pills. He grabbed my hair and pulled a fistful out. Nice looking, about 25 years old with slick back blonde hair. I firmly decided that even under the threat of death, I would not take in my mouth the nasty stuff that the strange doctor brought me. 11 days later, I was ready to drink it. My head was spinning and my stomach was hurting more and more. A girl in her 30s came into the room and handed me something in a wrapped newspaper. In disbelief, I unwrapped it with my hands shaking with hunger. It was a fried steak with spices. I thought there was something wrong with it. It was either poisoned or it had some kind of drugs in it. It was left next to the bed. It smelled so good. I was so hungry. I couldn't stand and I ate it. It was the best thing I'd ever tasted in my life. Medium rare, with nice spices and herbs. I ate it with pleasure and didn't even chew it. The next day, 2 huge men in white coats came into the room. They silently took me by the hands and carried me out of the room. It was useless to resist. They dragged me down in a dark corridor with many doors, dark blue light shining. Maybe behind these doors were wards like mine, or maybe people were tortured there. Who knows? Though one of the doctors could hear horrible screams and pleas for help. It was very scary, and I was preparing myself for the worst. I was led through one of these doors. The room in front of me was quite dark, with dirty gray tiles on the walls. In the middle of the room stood a large bathtub filled to the top with blood. On the table, I also noticed a man lying, covered with a sheet of plastic sheeting. Only his bare feet were visible. That's all I had time to notice before something scary came toward me. I saw long gray hair. Oh my god, she had a huge mouth covered in blood with cracked teeth sticking out and no lips at all. Her whole face was covered in blood. She suddenly walked over to me and looked into my eyes. Her look was very pitiful, as if I was looking at a child who was concerned and not allowed to come out. She looked at me like that for a minute, and then she slapped me sharply on the cheek so that my lip cracked. She leaned down to my ear and said, "Were you still hoping to get out of here? You're just one of the pathetic test subjects. How did you like the meat? Did you like the rotten human flesh? Spiced meat seems like the best meal on earth after starvation. Also, while you were out, they implanted a chip in your brain that can explode, but it's disabled. For now." Suddenly, a door opened behind me. A man came in. He was wearing a hoodie and a rope wrapped around his body. I recognized him. It was my brother John. "What are you doing?" I screamed. There was a long pause after my scream. "Fear not, we will leave him unharmed. In the stomach of the corpse that lies on the table is the key card that opens the door behind which is your grandfather," she continued to whisper. "My grandfather died when I was 10 years old," shouted I. "Who said he died?" She smiled, looking into my eyes. "If you move one step away from the scenario we have prepared for you, the chip that's in your brain will go into activate and you will die, and not just you." She walked over to John, took a knife out of her mouth, and started cutting the skin on his neck. I walked silent to the table. My hands were shaking. Abruptly, I lifted the tape that covered the man's face. Why did I do that? I'll never forgive myself. Underneath the tape was my best friend. I could barely stand on my feet. My bones were breaking, my mouth was dry, and a lump formed in my throat. I grabbed a knife and threw it in the scary girl with all my might. I hit her in the eye, and she screamed so hard that I could hear an echo running in my ears. She fell to the floor and started yelling and cursing me. I quickly jumped up to my brother and cut the ropes with a knife. I didn't understand anything anymore. Suddenly, I felt like I was losing consciousness, and I blacked out. I woke up in a room with light coming in through the small window. There was a chair in the middle. The room was dark, and the flashlight was shining in my eyes. There were these creatures standing over me. They were saying something about how I hadn't been through all the circles of hell. The chip in my head didn't work, and I was lucky. They started drawing jagged lines on me, undressing and groping me. I was so sick, I was screaming like crazy, punching this demon in their face, and one of them ripped out his tongue. They didn't scream, they just kept stabbing me. After I hit one of the creatures in the chest, its ribs were exposed, and you could see the heart beating. The creatures went wild. They started tearing my skin off, ripping my hair out, and stuffing it in my mouth. Too bad for her, she's just a young girl admitted to us. The mental hospital orderly said quietly. "Stop feeling sorry for her," the doctor said, hitting the table. "She's killed several people and her own family members in a particularly brutal way. It's a wonder how her brother managed to escape at all. He really loved her, but now she's nobody. She's doomed." The doctor smiled with his hollow mouth full of sharp, bloody teeth.